everybody. It is that time of week. Well, not quite. We are a little bit late today, and there is an explanation for that, which I will get into later. But you might also notice that the video looks a little bit different today, and I may also sound a little different, and that is actually because I am recording on my laptop in a different location. Actually, this is the club room for the Pokemon Club. Yeah, there's the secret leaked. But anyways, enough about that. Let's just take a look at the standings, or actually before that, let's take a look at the transactions. So we did have, this is like, what, week 4, week 5, week 4. And people are still out here making their transactions. Guess some people figured out what worked and what did not work. So yeah, fair enough. Good on them for making their team better, or at least mostly better. First of all, we have Boo coaching the Soyadlers. The Soyadlers have dropped their signature Mega Sableye, which has only come to what, like one game where it did nothing and died. Boo decided, you know what, I'm just going to go all in on the offense, and picked up the Pinsir Mega. Very, very threatening. As we see now, this is basically just a hyper offense team with a bunch of very powerful Pokemon, as well as the Magnezone to trap like Corviknight for the Pinsir. Stuff like Celesteela as well. Very, very scary core. Yeah, overall, I think this was a good move. Oh yeah, he also dropped the Murkrow, didn't he? Yeah, he dropped the Murkrow along with the Sableye to make up for the points. And yeah, overall, I think this will work out in his favor. Moving on, we have Ray and the Shadow Zatus. Now Ray, he just made a move last week where he picked up Tauros alongside Shaman, and now the Tauros is already gone. He dropped his mascot, the Zatu, alongside the Tauros to pick up Comfey and the most dogshit Pokemon in existence, Smeargle. If you can't tell, I'm not too pleased by this pick. Yeah, I think Smeargle does nothing for this team, and Comfey, it is not a bad Pokemon, but also probably not super necessary. Then again, neither Tauros nor Zatu is necessary, but Zatu was necessary because it was the mascot pick. You know, very disappointed in you, Ray. Hopefully you will learn from your mistakes. Now, next up, who else did we have? We had Namu, who dropped the Hariyama and the Guzzlord for the Grimmsnarl. Now, another move that I'm not too sure I agree with. Guzzlord is not a good Pokemon, but Grimmsnarl, also not a great Pokemon. It is a better Dark type, so if he is scared of setup Psychic types, then I guess that makes sense for him to pick this up in favor of the Guzzlord. But also just the role that this serves is mostly like thunder waving stuff and getting up screens, which the rest of his team can do fine enough. You know, Ninetales gets them both up in a single turn. Heck, Clefable and Corviknight could also do the same thing. I didn't feel like this pick was very needed, while the Hariyama, if he had kept it, would have kept some breaking power on his team. Yeah, overall, I'm not too sure about this pick. But next up, we have Mr. Banana Thief coaching the youngster Joey. Now, they have dropped the Tangrowth and the Komala in favor of Incineroar and Linu. This one was pretty interesting. I feel like Tangrowth, yes, it is pretty overpriced of a Pokemon in the draft format, especially when you could just pick Tangela instead. That's something that I like to do a lot, is just pick Tangela instead of Tangrowth, because it's cheaper and does the same exact thing, besides switching to knockoff. But yeah, I mean, he had a good regenerator core going on there, and he kind of broke it up. I felt like Incineroar was a sensible pick. You know, a lot of this team doesn't really appreciate, I guess, like fire plus ice plus whatever other coverage, and Incineroar definitely helps with that. Oh, and psychic types as well, of course. Psychic types with coverage could have been pretty problematic. Incineroar definitely shuts those down. I guess like offensive dark types too, to some extent. Yeah, gives him another pivot. Very good Pokemon, but again, not sure if it was worth breaking up the regenerator core. And the Komala, which he had, I remember he was very excited to use that Pokemon, and I don't think it has came out once. So he decided, I guess, to get a better win con, quote unquote, in the form of Linoon. Personally, I don't think Linoon is a great Pokemon, especially when the opponents can see it coming. They can pretty much just tech their entire team to not let this thing set up a single belly drum, which is not difficult at all given this Pokemon's stats. That being said, yeah, I don't know if this transaction was overall positive. I would say maybe it's a neutral transaction. Maybe he took a look at the matchups that would be up ahead of him in the schedules, in the playoffs, and he decided, okay, yeah, I guess Tangrowth is not necessary. I would disagree though, seeing as he got put down. He actually got put down by Random's team with the Mega Garchomp, and now his team is only more weak to that Pokemon. Ground plus coverage is super scary for this team, and dropping Tangrowth definitely did not help. So yeah, maybe it was not a great transaction. Let's see, who else do we have here? We had Adrian actually dropping the Mega Gardevoir after he realized that it is not a very good Pokemon in the match against Sid. I remember during the match he was complaining. That was pretty funny to see. But he ends up dropping it for the Gallade. So I remember in the logs he was like, oh, I'm dropping Irida for Adamin, which, okay, fair enough. I mean, Gallade is a fantastic Pokemon in the Draft League format. Though I'm not sure if Adrian has the prowess to wield it to its fullest potential. That being said, yeah, it is just a fantastic Pokemon. And he also did end up dropping the Suicune for Crocodile. Actually, first he dropped the Suicune for Zarude, and then he was like, wait, this thing sucks because it has a ×4 weakness to bug, and he dropped Zarude for Crocodile. So yeah, only time you will see the same Pokemon dropped within the week. I did decide to be a little lenient toward him though, and only have that take up one free agent transaction. But yeah, Crocodile, super good Pokemon in this format. It can always reliably get up rocks, knock things. It can run Scarf, it can run Band, it can run Setup even. Yeah, just a very versatile pick overall, and helps his team check a lot of different Pokemon that he was weak to before. Specifically, I would say the Ghost types and the Dark types. Crocodile helps a lot in that regard. Oh yeah, and he also dropped the Chansey, which I forgot to mention. Chansey was dropped just because Gallade is worth more points than Gardevoir, so he had to drop something else to make up for that point deficit. But that does mean that he does have 7 points remaining, and we'll see if he makes any other changes to his team. I mean, I feel like he definitely should spend those points, but also maybe change around some of the rest of his team. Yeah, I mean, I still don't think this is the most solid team. It still looks like a bunch of random Pokemon that are, you know, pretty good, but also just kind of slapped together. Yeah, he's still is in the season, I guess, still not completely out of playoffs. He could definitely spend those points to make his team a little bit better. Actually, let's see, who else has points remaining that they could spend? Sam. At this point, I think Sam's season is quite honestly over, but he could still choose to spend his remaining 25 points. Sunny, you know, it's been really rough for Sunny. He got his first win a couple weeks ago, but also took a loss after that. Maybe he will look into spending his remaining points. Random, I did mention that his team still has some problems. Maybe he will spend those points as well. Yeah, I guess we will see. But with all those transactions, man, why are there so many transactions? With all those transactions being covered, we can now get into the standings. Now, that's not the standings. There's the standings. Now, the first thing you will notice is that there is a game which has not happened yet, and this is the reason that the video has been delayed. In the past, we've had a lot of coaches, I'm looking at you Random, joining their games until Wednesday of the very next week, and that is why all these games would come out on, or all these videos would come out on Thursday. This week, they could not even get their game done by Thursday, which is why this video is being recorded on Friday. This time though, I really could not fault them. Crimson Flash, Ricardo, he has a real life situation, so yeah, my thoughts go out to you. Yeah, I really could not fault him for that. So that is why there is a game that has not been played. You see these standings have not reflected that game. But with that aside, let's just take a look at, oh boy, what has happened this week. At the very top of the standings, for the first time, Ray of Darkness and his Shadow Zatus have been dethroned, and in his place is Namu, the very person who beat him in the Week 4 game. Namu having a very impressive season in his own right, getting a lot of sweeps, and his record is now sitting at 4-0 plus 18. That's an average of more than 4-0 per win. Definitely a very, very good season so far. And following it up, we have Broken Motor with the single strikers. Also, the other 4-0 team in the league, picking up a win against WiseGuy in a very, very thrilling game, which, spoilers, we are about to cover in the game of the week. Then we have Ray, who took his first loss against Namu this week, but is still, you know, very, very solidly ahead in the playoff race. We have Banana Thief picking up a win against Sam, redeeming himself from the loss last week against Random. JS continuing his win streak, along with Blurg also continuing his win streak after the loss in the first week. And as mentioned, WiseGuy taking his first loss against Broken Motor. And we see, of course, Sid is continuing to hug the bottom half of the playoff teams. Then looking over here, we have a lot of coaches that took losses, in Adrian, Sunny, and Proj, but also Jesus, coaching the attack on Tyranitar, has picked up his first win after a tough start to the season, 3 losses in a row, and he picked up his first win against Sunny. Maybe we'll see this be the start of a huge turnaround for the attack on Tyranitar, but I guess only time will tell. And I guess maybe the most exciting thing to happen would be Kyra getting a win against Simon this week. Yeah, I mean, in terms of the standings, this is the most exciting thing to have happened, because all of these guys, they're still in the playoff race, but Kyra might be finally squeezing herself back into the race with this win against Simon. That match, it was a pretty hacks-infested match, I will say, but Simon does end up on the losing side, and this means that he is now 0-4. The Moltres' strongest soldiers, it is going to be very, very difficult for them to come back into the season and try to make playoffs, but technically still possible if he wins out. So we'll see what happens to these coaches and see if they can squeeze themselves back into the playoffs race. But now let's take a look at the Pokemon standings. And you already see up at the top is Zygarde 50%. Zygarde previously having had multiple sweeps against opponents, this time getting another 5 kills in its game against the Shadow Zatus. Now you might be wondering, did Zygarde sweep again? As no, it did not even run a Dragon Dance set. It did not run any sort of setup. In fact, it was Assault Vest Special Zygarde that tore apart Ray's team. Obviously, expecting the physical Zygarde, Ray prepped the physically defensive Buzzwole, as well as a variety of other Pokemon, but the Zygarde, surprise surprise, turned out to be special. And yeah, it just slowly but surely, along with some hacks, tore apart Ray's team. And now it sits undisputed at the top of the standings with a 15-0 record. But next up, we have Urshifu Single, also in a single game, boosting itself near the top of the rankings, getting 5 kills against the Miami Walreins. Super crazy game. You'll get to see exactly what this Pokemon did when I cover that match. And on the other side of the match, the Hydreigon did not do anything besides take a single death in this game, which moves it down to 3rd place. The Kartana also not being brought to the game, so it remains at 8-0. The Darmanitan getting a whopping, I don't know how many kills, man, but it was enough to move it into 5th place. Aerodactyl also having a breakout performance. You'll see in that game, it was really kind of a back and forth between the Aerodactyl and the Urshifu. So both of those Pokemon ended up getting a lot of kills. Looking further down these rankings, it is kind of what you would expect, but there are also some surprising additions. The Tyranitar Mega was huge in getting the attack on Tyranitar their first win, which is, obviously very fitting, and we'll see if this Pokemon can get him some more wins and some more kills in the future. We also see Decidueye making its way onto the rankings for the first time. Decidueye taking advantage of Adrian's lack of ghost resists and just kind of clicking knockoff, clicking shadow sneak until it won Sid the game. And also Dragonite making its first appearance, getting a solid Dragon Dance sweep against Sam, who continues to prove to be the league's punching bag. I guess Mono Gen 5 was not it. But with all that being covered, it is now time for the main event. It is time to get into the game of the week. Alright, you all already know what time it is. It is time for the game of the week. And I think to almost no one's surprise, the game of the week will be between Broken Motor coaching the Single Strikers and the Miami Walreins, coached by Christian, aka WiseGuy. Now, I am aware that we did kind of already talk about this game in Christian's coach interview. So if you've already watched that, it is going to be the same game. That was actually supposed to come out after this video, but I kind of, screwed up. That being said, this video will be more my thoughts, so I do have more to talk about this match that I didn't get to cover in that video with Christian. That being said, I think you all should still check out that video. We had a great interview, and yeah, hopefully we'll continue putting out the interviews. Not sure when the next one is, but it'll be coming out sometime. But yeah, with all that being said, let's just get right into the matchup. So we see Broken Motor on the left with the, very threatening pivoting team, and Christian on the right, also with the very threatening pivoting heavy team. Yeah, I mean, these teams are both like super solid. I ranked them first and second in the post-draft power rankings. Might be a little bit biased because this is kind of how I play the game with these types of teams. But yeah, they're just like really good teams, and Broken Motors only got better when he added the Nidoqueen, in my opinion. So looking at the matchup, right, Urshifu is extremely threatening. That's just what happens when your dark resists are all offensive and two of them die to close combat. It's just what happens. That being said, the Koko, even though it is a typically frail Pokemon, can actually serve as an Urshifu check. Like, for example, if we pull up this spread over here, right, you can run speed to creep Cinderace, creeping Infernape. If you're not even worried about Cinderace, you don't even have to run speed. And then just kind of dump the rest into defense, and you see with that, even if the Urshifu is Adamant Choice Banded, the Wicked Blow does not even 2-hit KO most of the time. You can just roost it off, claim your free Rocky Helmet damage. Let's see, it should be Poison Jab, just in case this set does come out, but yeah, Poison Jab does not OHKO either, so if needed, you can pivot this Koko in on the Urshifu. Yeah, honestly, that should be exactly what comes out here. This kind of Koko set that is pretty much just built to switch into the Urshifu, because otherwise, Christian kind of has to sack a Pokemon every single time. But yeah, Koko is, like, in general, not too good, because it can't touch the Slowking, it can't touch the Nidoqueen. The Nidoqueen could always run Poison Point to punish, like, exactly this specific set. Christian could run something like Calm Mind Stored Power, but again, I think he really, really needs the defensive Koko for the Urshifu. So yeah, overall, pretty much just there for that one Pokemon. Nature's Madness could get some chip on these guys if he needs it. Looking at the rest of Broken Motor's team, he should definitely bring the Scizor, one of the best Aerodactyl checks in the game. Rotom Wash should also come to check the Aerodactyl, kind of just pivot around. Like, Volt Switch is super free because, Donphan cannot really risk trying to block the Volt Switch unless it's something like Max Adef Assault Vest, in which case, sure, you can tank a Hydro Pump on the off chance that he does go for the Hydro Pump, but then also what are you doing back, right? So yeah, Rotom's super good in this matchup. Slowking Galar, I mean, it walls the Tapu Koko. It can come in on the Slowbro, throw off Sludge Bombs, Future Sights. Pretty solid Pokemon. The Nidoqueen is very, very good, I would say. Just gets crazy coverage for everybody. The Slowbro kind of has to be specially defensive to deal with this Pokemon. Otherwise, Christian's team just like has no answers, or no real answers at least. I guess you could bring Corsola, but like that Pokemon is really bad, and also it gets like poisoned, and then it's no longer a check. The Togekiss, I could definitely see the Togekiss coming out, because if he doesn't bring it, then Hydreigon kind of just like shreds the entire team. I guess Type Null could check the Hydreigon too, but probably one of these two will come, because like, yeah, Urshifu is threatening to this team, but also look at Hydreigon against this one. What I expect to come out is something like a mixed Hydreigon, maybe with Life Orb. We can see like Crunch, maybe Head Smash or Flash Cannon, Flamethrower definitely, and probably Draco in the last to just smack Rotom really hard. I say Crunch and Head Smash because his primary Hydreigon checks, right? If you think about a standard, maybe Scarf or Specs Hydreigon, the checks are going to be Togekiss, and even Slowking can definitely shrug off hits. If we see like a standard Assault Vest, right, versus Hydreigon. Yeah, Dark Pulse is like not even a 3-hit KO, barely a 3-hit KO. So he could probably run Mixed Crunch. These guys are both specially defensive. If Hydreigon is running some physical invest, it can definitely screw these guys up, right? So in that case, it can be a pretty potent breaker. Yeah, just looking at the rest of this team, I guess like Cinderace would be pretty valuable just to be able to outspeed and revenge some of these guys, like the Hydreigon, like the Infernape. I mean, you're not going to be revenging the Hydreigon with Urshifu unless it is Scarfed. Yeah, I mean, I think Broken Motor brings a pretty standard team here. There's not too much reason to bring Colossal or Greedent, as much as he loves that Pokemon. Yeah, looking at Christian's side of things, as I covered before, Coco, probably defensive, Hydreigon, probably some breaker set. Scizor is not great here. Like back in the day, when Hidden Power and Natural Gift and all that would be allowed, Scizor could come as a bait or an answer to the Mega Scizor, which is pretty funny. You run like Natural Gift with Wantmole Berry, can Oko that thing. But yeah, I mean, it could serve as a pivot, but overall I think it's not too great. The Slowbro, as mentioned, I think it will be Spadef. Donphan, I think, should probably come, because if it doesn't come out, that means Rotom gets free Volt Switches no matter what, like even more free than they were before. And also, rocks are going to stay there for the whole game, which is absolutely terrible for his Aerodactyl Mega. By the way, this Aerodactyl is extremely threatening. If he can get the predictions right, I mean, all his moves hit like super hard. Rotom is going to take probably like 40 from an edge, but that thing gets chipped down by his other guys. And then if he can catch the Scizor with a Fire Fang, that would definitely be huge. That thing would be just completely gone, annihilated.
I mean, like Earthquake, Dual Wing Beat, yeah, it just has a ton of coverage to run here. Probably will not be able to fit Roost, which is something to keep in mind, but it's possible. It's possible he runs some sort of Roost set with 3 or 2 attacks. Yeah, I think these 6 are pretty easy to come. The Amoonguss can spore things, but overall I think each of these guys are just like pretty good in this matchup, and pretty necessary. The Infernape, personally, I would run like a band set with Mach Punch. I think does a lot to this team, but I guess it could also be something like Lead Rocks. It could also be maybe even special, I don't know. Probably not special because there's a Slowking and a Togekiss. But yeah, maybe Scarf, something like that. But let's just see what they actually did end up bringing. So Broken Motor actually does not bring either the Togekiss or the Type Null, which means that Hydreigon is going to have a lot easier time against this team. And Christian, very crucially, does not bring the Tapu Koko. So I look at this team and I see 6 Pokemon dead to Wicked Blow. Yeah, that Urshifu in slot 1 looking mighty threatening. Yeah, I think most of what I talked about still stands true. I feel like the brings are pretty standard. This Slowking is probably designed to be the Hydreigon answer, and he's just like banking on it not running physical. I guess like if it does run physical, what does he do? Right? He could probably pivot Cinderace once. He could, I mean, if this Rotom is Fizz-Def, he could go into that, but also it will just get annihilated by Draco after. Yeah, I'm not too sure what the plan is here. I guess he's just like banking on Special Hydreigon. And looking on this side of the field, yeah, I'm not too sure what the response for Urshifu is. And the Corsola does come out, so the Corsola is probably the Nidoqueen answer. I can't really think of any other reason to bring this Pokemon. You can get up rocks, I guess. But yeah, let's just take a look and see what happens in the match. So we have the Rotom versus Infernape lead. So this is just a free U-turn for the Infernape, unless it is Lead Rocks with Sash. But it looks like it does just U-turn out into the Corsola. So the Rotom probably just volts here, because even if he goes Donphan, he can just Hydro after. That damage from the U-turn, I don't know if I can get any information from that, but these two players probably got some information. Oh, as he does Hydro the Infernape, so he chose to Hydro there. If he got into Hydreigon on the Hydro, that would have been pretty bad for him. But he does dodge it. I guess it doesn't matter too much. This Corsola probably can't stick around too much anyways. We see the Cinderace come out on the rocks, so the Cinderace could easily court change here, and that would kind of screw him over. But the Corsola, I mean, the Corsola could actually stay in on the Cinderace and like throw off a Scald or something, assuming it has it. But it switches out, so I guess it's fearing, maybe it's like Spadef for the Nidoqueen and it's fearing like Pyro Ball damage. But he does U-turn for 52. Now that is not even Libero Cinderace, so I'm pretty sure this thing is banded and that thing is Spadef, like we said before. But this does allow the Urshifu to come in, and there's only ever one move it should click here, which is Wicked Blow, and it does 63 to the Donphan. So I guess Christian pivoted Donphan just in case this thing went for close combat, but I don't think it ever went for close combat there. Wicked Blow was super free, and with that damage on the Donphan, I think he can confirm that this thing is actually banded. And we don't actually see a helmet from the Donphan. Something that could have worked pretty nicely would be like Helmet Endure or something like that, just to get 3 rounds of chip on the Urshifu, but I don't know if that'll matter too much. He does go into the Hydreigon, so I guess his plays there were either sack the Donphan or go Hydreigon, knowing that it doesn't kill and should scare this out. So yeah, like Specs Draco would definitely obliterate this. As Broken Motor goes into the Slowking, so I guess he really isn't fearing the physical set, which I guess is pretty fair, because if you're physical, like fully physical, you cannot KO the Urshifu, so he knows Draco has to come out here, and he does pivot into the Slowking. Does he scout for the crunch? Okay, I guess he does scout for the crunch by going into the Nidoqueen, but the Corsola is in. I mean, why are you switching out? Okay, I guess maybe this Corsola does not have anything to hit the Nidoqueen, but that wouldn't really make sense. I mean, I guess Slowbro was free there, unless it was like Shadow Ball Nidoqueen, and this play does get him more momentum. So he does just throw off a Future Sight, and back into the Corsola on the Slowking. There is the Nightshade to get some chip, and the Future Sight would come out here. So yeah, now there's another Future Sight on Christian's side. This stuff is all like so confusing to keep track of. But yeah, Slowking there. And why did he go Nidoqueen? Because the Future Sight coming out means that he should probably go into Slowbro or Hydreigon. And to take advantage of that, I mean, I guess he had to like call that the Hydreigon was coming out. I'm not sure. But yeah, he could have gone Urshifu there, I think. But the Urshifu does come out now. It comes out hard on the Slowbro, which is super risky, since this thing could definitely Scald for like 40 and also burn the Urshifu, which at this point is still wrecking like the entire team. But he doesn't Scald, he goes for the Future Sight. So that means, look at this, everything is in range. You know, the Hydreigon cannot take another hit, Donphan cannot take another hit. In on the Slowbro, Wicked Blow definitely picks up a kill here, and it's going to be on the Corsola. So with the Corsola down, Christian elects to go into the Infernape, which could definitely do a lot of damage here, assuming this is banded. Like banded CC plus the Future Sight that is coming out, that's definitely going to obliterate something, unless he goes into the Slowking. If he goes into the Slowking, I think he can live, just because it's quad resist. He does go into the Nidoqueen, so the Future Sight probably kills this. I guess that was the sack at this point. And it actually reveals to be Earthquake. So he goes for the Earthquake on the Urshifu. That is pretty crazy, man. That is pretty crazy. I feel like CC was always the safe play there. If you Earthquake, then he stayed in. The Infernape was dead. Then again, he's probably never staying in. And if you gotten Rotom there, that also would have been pretty bad. But he does get the read right. The Earthquake, I don't think this is banded damage. I feel like that would do a lot more. But yeah, I don't know. He goes into Rotom here, and the Infernape hard switches out, which makes me think this is Scarf, right? This is Scarf Infernape, hard switched out instead of U-turning, and the Rotom Hydro Pumps instead of Volt switching. I guess Donphan was a pretty safe sack there, so Hydro Pump definitely makes sense, but he Hydros into the Slowbro, which would not have done anything. And the Urshifu comes back out on the Scald. And yeah, like I said, that is a 2-hit KO. He is definitely not coming in on Slowbro again. And if that burned there, well, that would have been really bad. I mean, I'm sure Wicked Blow is still like 2-hit KOs everything. But yeah, definitely could have burned that thing and would have made it a lot more difficult. Here Christian does sack the Donphan. At this point, he could have sacked either the Donphan or the Hydreigon. I guess he decided Hydreigon was more valuable, maybe for the Rotom, maybe as Roost, I'm not sure. Infernape comes back out, and it just U-turns there, which is a pretty fair play, I think. He could have gone either Rotom or Slowking. You know, seeing how he's playing, he definitely wants to save this Urshifu to come back in on the Slowbro, maybe on a predicted switch and get some more kills. So the U-turn was a pretty fair prediction. And now the Aerodactyl actually comes out. So I wonder what we'll see coming out from this Aerodactyl. If this has sub, I would definitely sub here, because he could definitely preserve this Slowking and go into the Scizor. Because Scizor will eat Stone Edge, it will eat Earthquake, and then it can Bullet Punch KO the Aerodactyl. If you sub on that turn, then his Bullet Punch is only breaking the sub, and you get a kill with Fire Fang. So I feel like that is probably the play to make. But we just see the Slowking stay in, and the Aerodactyl throws off a safe Stone Edge. I guess at that point, even getting damage on the Scizor would have been good there. And the Rotom comes out very confidently on this Aerodactyl. So the Rotom has not revealed any item, and it's also kind of low. So I'm guessing that this is also going to be a Scarf Rotom, because otherwise you would probably bring out Scizor there instead. Scarf Rotom, if this is Scarf, that is a very, very free Volt Switch for him, seeing as the Donphan is sacked. So he goes into the Slowbro. That is going to be a big mistake, because the Urshifu will definitely come out again. Yeah, I remember, dude, this guy was like taking so long on this turn. What is there to think about? Just bring in Urshifu and get a kill. But thankfully that is what he does eventually, as now the Hydreigon is the sack. I definitely agree with that. I feel like Slowbro, Infernape, and Aerodactyl would be more valuable to keep at this point in the game. And the Aerodactyl comes back out. So since the Slowbro is still alive, I feel like he will keep this Urshifu. And the Cinderace is useless. So again, this is where I would click sub. I would click sub on the Cinderace sack, so that you can edge it afterwards and then get another kill. That would be super fire. But yeah, it looks like he just goes for the edge. Maybe he doesn't have sub, or maybe he just wants the guaranteed damage, which is fair. I'm actually not sure if edge killed Urshifu at that range. Probably not. So it was a good read on Christian's part to go for the edge on the Cinderace sack there. I guess it didn't really matter. Yeah. But Rotom comes back out. This thing can get another Volt off, and he goes into Slowbro again. So yeah, definitely this cycle that he's trapped in is pretty bad, because Urshifu can just come in and get a kill, and then sure, Aerodactyl revenges, but also it's taking rocks, and also he has to get the prediction. Seems like a losing game here. So yeah, Aerodactyl comes out, and in this end game, it's pretty tough. I would say that Broken Motor should probably sacrifice his Urshifu, seeing as it has fulfilled its purpose. You know, all the walls are dead. The only things that are left outspeed it. So he can safely sack here, and then going into Rotom and Hydro Pumping probably wins the game. Assuming they hit, because you know this Infernape is not Banded Mach. If it was Banded Mach, that could have cleaned up the game. But there is, yeah, I don't think there's anything that he can lock into, the Infernape can lock into, that kills both the Rotom and the Scizor. So this game is pretty safely his, but he does switch out. He switches into the Scizor. Will we see the Fire Fang? Will we see? We do see the Fire Fang. So that is Scizor down. And now all of a sudden, this game has taken a little turn. Yeah, on Christian's end, I feel like Fire Fang was always the play there. If he stays in, you know, it's like a roll to kill. I think it's in his favor. I mean, like 27%. This is Tough Claws boosted Fire Fang. Should definitely kill it. If he switches out into Scizor, obviously that's the best case. You get that thing from 100 to 0. And if he goes into the Rotom, I guess it gets some chip on it. I think it's kind of doubtful that he goes into the Rotom, because Edge should definitely kill it at that range. And then the Scarf Infernape will be in the back to clean up the game. I guess there is the consideration of whether Banded Sucker into priority move Scizor kills, especially if this was quick attack Scizor. That might have been something that he would want to save for the Infernape. Especially now that you know that it's choiced, it's locked in, you know, it cannot click anything like SD to outplay the suckers. Maybe that's what he was thinking in preserving the Urshifu, but I feel like you had a much better win con there besides sacking the Scizor. I don't know, man. Yeah, this is tough. I mean, if he did play to what I said, then he would have to land 2 Hydros, or maybe he could just Volt out and that would win him the game. But yeah, honestly not sure. It would depend on the calcs here. So the Rotom does come out. It does click Volt Switch on the Aerodactyl, not Hydro Pump, which makes sense because if he did Hydro Pump, the Scarf Infernape would come out, it would CC twice and win the game. At this point, there is no Scizor in the back to take the CC, so he kind of has to Volt here. And then the Urshifu comes out. So at this point, his only win con is Sucker Punch, right? If this is Banded Mach, he loses right now. I guess if it's just Mach Punch in general, I think he also loses. I'm not sure how much that Rotom takes. Yeah, so at this point in the game, right, the Infernape just wins by clicking Flare Blitz. Unless this Urshifu gets a super mega crit with the Sucker Punch. Or another play that Broken Motor could go for is banking on the choke from Christian so that he clicks Close Combat into the Rotom. When I'm pretty sure like Flare Blitz definitely kills this thing, right? Like, we got Infernape, not that one. Yeah, like Flare Blitz definitely kills this after rocks, so he should just go for that. But should he close combat, then maybe that puts it in range of a Sucker Punch, and we'll see what happens. He does actually close combat the Rotom. So this Infernape is -1. It cannot click anything besides close combat. And you know, Broken Motor's got one play here. Sucker Punch and crit. Look at that. That is exactly what happens. Easiest crit of my life. Dude, okay. So looking at this again, right? The crit might not even have mattered because, okay, so it did 64% and the roll was 63 to 75 at -1. So he had like a what, 6% chance to live that with the Infernape. But again, it was a choked endgame to begin with. He should have just fire moved there. And even if he close combated there, he also choked in prep because he did not speed creep properly. If he speed crept properly, he would have had more points in HP and a greater chance to live that. See, this is the calc over here. So it would have done 58 to 68. This thing was at 64, so it would have actually been favored for him to live that crit sucker punch. Yeah, I mean, overall, this game was like kind of thrown by both sides in a few different ways, but still a fantastic game overall. Definitely super tough endgame there. But please, come on, just do your speed creeps, man. Like, I can literally teach you how to do it right now, right? I will teach you how to do the speed creeps. Look, you got your Urshifu. Let's say that he expects it to be Scarf, Scarf max speed, right? And he wants his Scarf Infernape to outspeed the Scarf Urshifu. You got your Infernape, you got Close Combat, U-Turn, that's not U-Turn, whatever, Earthquake, Flare Blitz, Scarf. Alright, look at this. You want max attack? You want to do a lot of damage? Sure. Then you go, you see, oh, that is a bigger number. 323 is a bigger number than 322. You dump the rest, right? Very easy to speed creep. You could even say that this Urshifu is creeping something else, and then, that's the wrong dock. You could even say that the Urshifu is creeping something else, and, yeah, creep the Urshifu creeping that. Yeah, not hard to do at all. Would definitely have given him better chances there in that endgame. But yeah, crazy game. With all that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at next week. So week 5. You know, the craziness of week 4 is kind of behind us, and going into week 5, things have kind of, I would say, stabilized a bit. It's very clear who the people at the top are, and it's very clear who is kind of struggling to keep their season afloat. But there are some coaches who are basically at the borderline, trying to nudge their way into playoffs, and we'll take a look and see what they can do. So week 5, we have Kyra, one of those very coaches, who is now 2-2, I believe, facing off against WiseGuy. Very tough opponent. Kyra has been turning her season around and is going on the upside, but she will have to get past Christian in order to more solidly claim her spot in playoffs. Should be a very fun one to watch. Boo versus Ray. I won't talk about this one because they have already played. Yeah, not much more to say about that one. Sid versus Sylvester. So both of these coaches are currently near the top of the standings. You know, Sylvester coming off of a very solid win against Ray, where you know, they were the two top teams going into week 4 and now week 5. Sylvester still at the top of the standings. Sid still kind of on the lower half, but very solidly in playoffs. Yeah, should be a fun one as well. We have Broken Motor versus Banana Thief. These two guys have two of the scariest drafts in the whole league, with the Urshifu single facing off against the Landorus Incarnate. Um, yeah, this one should be a very, very terrifying matchup. I know these two guys have also been helping each other with mock battles and whatnot, so yeah, should be fun to see them fight in the real league. And then we have Random versus Jesus. Random, bit of a strange guy. He always plays on Wednesday for some reason. And Jesus, not doing too hot, but he did get a win. So it's still possible for him to turn his season around and make it in playoffs. So we'll see if he can do that against Random. And then we have Crimson versus Sam. These are kind of two of the teams hugging the very bottom of the standings, unfortunately. And this might just be a battle to see who does not get last place. Good luck to both of these coaches. Then we have Proj versus Sunny. This one should be fun. Proj and Sunny, both of my good pals. Yeah, they're kind of like also in the not making playoffs camp so far. But they definitely still do have time to turn around their season. And yeah, maybe that starts with this week. And last but not least, we have Adrian versus Simon. I believe both of these coaches took a very rough L last week, especially Simon now being 0-4. Yeah, it's going to be very, very tough for him. Like I said, you could still make playoffs at 4-4, but probably not likely, though that is Simon's last chance to hope for now. And Adrian, also being 1-3, has to definitely clinch this week. So yeah, kind of like a lot of last stands going on this week, and a lot of hype matchups as well. Yeah, once next week is over, I'll be back here to do the recap again. Hopefully we'll have some interesting games to talk about. And with that being said, I'll see you next time.